Alrighty, happy afternoon from Disney's Hollywood Studios. I don't know what my goals or expectations for today are. I don't know if I'm gonna ride anything. I think we're just gonna go stroll around. I think that's where we're at for today. But most importantly, let's go talk about that $60 billion for new attractions and capacity and sort of Epic Universe impacts, because I think there's a couple hidden gems inside this park that nobody's really talking about. All right, so our first area we're going to talk about is Animation Courtyard, because there's something opening up that I feel like nobody's really talking about. So in the next few months, Voyage of the Little Mermaid is going to make a return as a brand new show. And you know, we have to talk about that sort of in the same breath as the way we talk about Country Bear Jamboree, which is not necessarily new attractions and new capacity, but it is a welcomed refresh and new experience on top of what the parks already offer. Because this closed with COVID and just hasn't been back yet. It was cute. Oh, there's a little acorn. Oh, you can't see it. Yeah. Not the picnic basket. Very cute. And so there's a whole bunch of opportunity here for the new refreshed experience to be welcomed and appreciated. Now, I'm not really interested in the Percy Jackson preview that's happening right now, but I always have to stop in one man's dream whenever coming through here. Or, sorry, Walt Disney Presents. And this will give us a little bit of inspiration for like where our next future change is. And that's going to be the Little Mermaid meet and greet. You know, I can see a world where that meet and greet is replaced with a new character from a new upcoming film or, you know, a newer franchise. I wouldn't be surprised if you see that happen over the next year or so. I haven't seen this yet, but this is the opening day model, or a version of that for the 50th anniversary that was built. You see, this is what Disneyland looked like opening day. And so this is an example of what some of that $60 billion earmarked for new capacity goes towards. So this is all stuff about the Wish, but in the new Triton class ships are going to be very similar, featuring different lounges and dinner shows similar to the Wish. There was a really cool video that the Parks blog put up a couple months ago that was like a deep dive into what all of those new experiences are going to be. I'm really excited for it. But when you think about that 70% of that money being earmarked for new capacity and expansion, that's what a lot of it's going towards. Things sort of like that. And you can see here sort of like a small overview on cruise line stuff. And then we're back out in the world. You know, I wasn't expecting to see new things there, or at least things that are new to me. But sure enough, there we go. There we have it. So let's keep on walking through. You know, as we're passing this DVC booth, it reminds me to mention that some of that additional capacity isn't just going to be in the way of cruise ships and theme park rides. Some of that additional capacity is going to hit in hotel rooms, a new hotel expansion. So think the new building at Polynesian Village Resort, but also maybe additional resorts overall at any of the properties. We're passing a really great example of some of that expanded capacity right now. You know, Roundup Rodeo Barbecue is a great addition to Toy Story Land that wasn't in the initial plans and wasn't in the initial opening of the area, but was something that I guess, you know, had the pandemic not happened, would have been pretty easy to open up. I wouldn't be surprised if you see other restaurants and experiences pop up that are of sort of the similar flavor, I guess. Toy Story Land's a great example to point this out, because some of those new experiences and capacity comes from things like entertainment and bringing in new shows, Streetmosphere, right? Like, this is stopping us for a second. You know, and so wherever they stop, that's like pretty much a show. It's a Streetmosphere show, but a show nonetheless. And so in the discussion of those new capacity spend dollars, that's where a lot of that money could also end up going, towards entertainment budgets for new things in the parks. Now, does that discussion of new capacity and $60 billion and responding to Epic Universe, does that mean we're getting another ride at Toy Story Land? Probably not. Probably not happening. But as I discussed in the video yesterday, there's some really cool opportunity where you can do a bunch of small, low-level decisions that have a high impact when all compounded together. And so maybe it's additional songs here, or maybe we need to go one land over to figure out where additional experiences could be plussed or shifted up to create a better and more enticing argument to go to Hollywood Studios in the year 2025. Alrighty, so for my next theory, we're going to be shifting into Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to talk about maybe one or two small things that could come to the planet of Batuu to really help liven it up and to help shift that argument to why should you visit Hollywood Studios in 2024 or even 2025 when Epic Universe opens. You know, because let's be real, that's sort of the big argument case now, is how do you build experiences that'll help sort of chip away reasons to go to other places, just because I feel like people will have a lot more limited time in the other theme parks because Epic Universe is open. And like I said in yesterday's video, all the parks know they're not competing with a day at Epic Universe. They're competing with what are they doing the day before, the day after. So how are these parks going to sort of build the argument in their favor to make them the destination to go to? Now, some of that earmarked expansion and additional spend to help tip the needle in the favor of Hollywood Studios could be additional Streetmosphere entertainment and getting additional stormtroopers or additional live entertainment happening here. But something most of you guys probably care about is what's happening over at Galactic Star Cruiser and that parcel of land. And while nothing's been announced, I don't think that it's really anything that would tip the scale in favor of Hollywood Studios. I think that's an entirely different experience altogether. Now, originally I thought it wasn't too crazy of a day here at Disney World, but the standby wait for Smuggler's Run is 90 minutes. So it's feeling the capacity here a little bit. It is feeling a little dense, and part of that has to do with Rock and Roller Coaster is closed for a pretty lengthy refurb. It'll be reopening in a couple months, I believe. So there's a lot of displaced park capacity for each hour that need to sort of fill in other places in the park. And so you're seeing that at high waits here. I believe that Tower of Terror was over 100 minutes. So it's a busy day at the park, but this brings us to our next attraction. Very importantly, Smuggler's Run. Now, when it was first announced, they discussed multiple different missions. What better time to announce new missions and bring new missions to life in Smuggler's Run than with the opening of Epic Universe and, you know, putting that sort of investment and capital into new experiences. Having additional missions here provides a lot of interactivity and additional elements that people have been asking for since the land opened, without having to physically build any new locations. So I could see that sort of being not necessarily like low-hanging fruit, but definitely like, we'll call it like medium on the tree or on the scale. We'll call it like not fully high-reaching, but definitely within scope of possibility. Now, in a very interesting twist, unexpected, Smuggler's Run is actually a 10-minute higher wait than Rise of the Resistance right now. Very interesting. So you see there's people going up the lighting lane, and the line for standby is sort of out the gate here, but they still have all that extended queue just inside that they're not using. But 85 minutes, wow, that's lower than I would have expected, given that Tower is 120, Smuggler's Run's 95. Let's say 85 minutes is very fair, given the crowd level of today. For some reason, nobody ever goes on this far side portion of the tunnel. So we're going to turn the corner here and you're going to see a big old crowd. But this far gate, always empty. Now, something else that is interesting is we have this drink stand coming soon, and some of the money could be. I mean, like, this is added capacity, right? Like, this is new capacity for the park. And sure, it's in the form of a drink stand, but it's welcome change. So, you know, you could see some of the money allocated in ways like that, and maybe that's how that that funding is being allocated, and they're just not having a big song and dance or whatever about it. So something that was announced at Destination D23 last year changes the Star Tours and new scenes based on, I believe it was Ahsoka was announced. And so that's a really great example of ways that you can make the parks interesting and add more stuff without really having to do much work. And so, sort of similar to what I suggested about Smugglers, Star Tours is actively going to be doing that. Indiana Jones just so you can see all these people filing out. So, an excellent example of how shows hold capacity. I mean, you've got thousands of people walking out of the show right now. So Indiana Jones provided a really great example of what a show looks like when it's busy. The Vacation Fun short is another one that has opportunity to eventually be changed or have something done to it, and it wouldn't really take much. But it's just those opportunities to create new or more exciting or just different experiences that people are looking for. I don't know, that theater probably holds 300-ish people, 400 maybe? I don't know. But that's, a show running every 15-ish minutes. You get a lot of capacity that way. This crowd has gotten, noticeably more dense than when I first got here, a half hour ago. Maybe a little bit longer than a half hour ago. I don't know. My concept of time for today is sort of all out of whack. I don't usually rope drop parks, and I'm usually not a crazy early morning parks person, so I'm all out of whack. Alrighty, so Hollywood Studios kind of swamped. So we're going to, I know I mentioned in yesterday's video making it 4 separate videos. We're going to combine Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom all into one video. And have a nice day. Thank you, sir. Sorry. We're going to combine Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom into one video just because they're a little bit on, well, we may talk a lot about Animal Kingdom. This may end up being a longer video. I don't know. Alrighty, so we made it to Animal Kingdom. I was thinking about splitting these videos up, and then I decided to not. And then I got in my car and counted how long the last video was going to be. Roughly, I don't know, 10-15 minutes or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, that's plenty fine, but I already got out of my car, or got into my car, and I was like, I'm not going to go and redo the outro. So, welcome to a super long video. Let's go talk about Animal Kingdom. So there's a lot of people getting ready to walk out of Dinoland, it looks like. There's a little bit of a dense crowd slowly making their way out. I think Nemo just ended, which is an excellent way to mention that I haven't seen the new Nemo show yet. Knew it debuted last year, but maybe that's on the to-do list today. Alrighty, so Dinoland. Let's chat. There are a lot of things potentially going on here. And it seems like Indiana Jones is very much happening. And in the discussion of what's going to take over and how long is it going to take, let's sort of dive deeper into what that entails. So, Dinoland. The changes at Dinosaur, I think, are easier than most people think. It's going to be Indiana Jones most likely, but it's going to follow a different sort of ride experience than over at Disneyland. Buildings aren't fully the same shape, walls are in different spots. It's sort of just overall a different experience. But people tend to overestimate how long ride conversions take, and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout was less than a year. Frozen Ever After was roughly a year. So something could be announced at D23 this year and open next summer potentially. That's a roughly 12-month timeline. And so it's a tight timeline, but if they really wanted to push something for next summer, totally doable. A lot of it is just refabrication of parts and pieces. So it's not anything crazy to expect, oh, hey, this could be done in a year. You know, people be like, oh, well, Disney timeline this, Disney timeline that. But like, when they need to get stuff done fast, stuff gets done, you know? And when you're talking about like, what's the real competition to Epic Universe, and what's the real thing that's going to make people want to come to Animal Kingdom, it's gonna be this. You know, whatever happens here kind of sort of needs to be underway in the next couple months for it to be considered, you know, the response or the answer for the universal call of what do you respond to with next. But when you talk about, you know, 70% of that $60 billion going towards new capacity, this isn't one of them. You know, this would be a ride conversion. So this would be lumped into that other 30%, which is still a stupid amount of money. Like that is crazy funding to devote to all the parks around the world. But doesn't necessarily count towards that 70%. Now, to dip back into that 70%, you have to follow this pathway into Chester and Hester's Dino-Rama, which is pretty much just T-Spin and the Dinosaur Treasure Store now. And that is where some of that little gray area of what's going to go here exists. You know, that's the stuff that's, at least, you know, in current release concept art, that Encanto experience. And so whatever that ends up being, whether that's a ride or a show or just a very elaborate meet and greet, this is sort of the start of where that experience takes place into this new land that would be sort of Central or South America themed, you know, to tie it in with Indiana Jones and then Encanto. Which, you know, neither here nor there. Looks like T-Spin just went down, having some technical difficulties. Very unfortunate. But over here, the enhanced stroller parking and table area, they could just start building something here, and they don't need to close anything, right? Like, you could start vertical construction. If you were to use this parcel of land for something, you could start this today, and nothing would be impacted, you know, and then eventually you'd have to move the fence. But you can get a decent amount done without sort of impeding on current park flow. And while we're talking about additional capacity at Animal Kingdom, I'd be remiss if we didn't speak about this large parcel of land. There's a lot of space here for, you know, whatever Disney wants to do with. This is actually really nice. There's like no one here. I mean, there's nothing to do here. But yeah, this is nice. It's like, I don't know if it's shaded or if it's just a cloud over here. I guess this little section's shaded. Speaking of new shows, there is one thing that's coming, and that's going to be the Zootopia show. I forget the name, coming to the Tree of Life. Yeah, I don't necessarily think that that's like Disney's response to Epic Universe, but when you're talking about adding newer experiences to sort of, you know, freshen up the park, if you will, and make people want to come back, a new show based on a really popular movie with, I believe, a sequel coming out, or at least a Disney Plus show, that's going to tip the scale, you know, for some people. You know, if you're a really big Zootopia fan, and especially for locals, you know, if you're a huge Zootopia fan and you're deciding on what to do, and you're like, yeah, I haven't seen the new show in Tree of Life yet, well, you'll probably come over and do that. 45-minute wait currently at Everest today. So it's a little on the busy side. A lot of cheer groups here too. I keep forgetting that it is cheer season. It's like almost in the 80s today, and Cali River Rapids is closed for refurb. There aren't many days where I'm like, oh man, I wish a water ride was open, but today's one of them. I think it would also help with just like breathability in the park, you know, just like another thing to sort of eat people. But not that a Rapids ride is a people eater, but just something to sort of hold them. Hi, Goofy. And of course, as I was walking away, I saw another one come by. This one featuring Pocahontas and Miko. So we'll see them come up in a second. I'm not really sure how I'm doing with this new, I don't know, reemergence of vlogging again. I'm sure the format will change a million times, but maybe there won't even be a format. Maybe what I'm looking to do here is just sort of like bad podcasts. You know, and like, it's just listen to me talk for a half hour while I walk around the parks. And if that is what I'm trying to do, that's okay. I was thinking about it recently. I used to do these videos daily 8 years ago when I was on my college program, and it was a lot, and it like, the pressure sort of got to me, and you know, you miss one day and you're like, oh well, you know, how do I pick it back up and how do I start doing it again? But you just sort of realize like you're doing this for yourself and to just sort of like have like this neat little creative outlet, and then suddenly you don't care as much about the timeline. So as I'm now starting to pick this up and do this again, I appreciate you sort of bearing with me as I figure out what the next step is and sort of what the evolution is, because it's going to evolve and it's going to be modified, and I have some ideas to get it into maybe like an almost daily cadence, but not officially every single day. I don't know, I'm not that interesting of a person, so I don't do stuff every day. But also, maybe that's okay. You know, maybe I don't need to be a person doing stuff every single day. Sorry, this sort of like went off on a slight tangent. I just wanted to like explain what you're watching and why you're watching it, and why it is the way that it is. But I had realized as I missed the first, I think they're called flotillas, is what the Disney jargon for it is. As I missed the first one going by, I was like, oh man, I missed getting a fun shot. But then I sort of was like, oh well, what am I gonna do? You know, not the end of the world. And so I think that my MO moving forward with this sort of stuff is like, just hang out and like have fun with it, and you know, you're just doing this for fun. You know, you're not looking for anything really crazy to happen. This is very much just creative expression. So with that being said, let's keep moving on.
You want to look around a little bit?
So we'll chat very briefly over here, but believe it or not, Navi River Journey is posting a higher weight than Flight of Passage. I think it was posting 75 and Flight of Passage is posting like an hour. Weird that it's two different parks, studios, and Animal Kingdom, where the secondary attractions in the land are posting higher wait times than the main e-tickets. But that brings me to my next point. Over here, high in the mountains of Pandora, there is a ride where you get to fly on the back of a Banshee. And Mr. James Cameron had mentioned like last year or something about getting a new film created for Flight of Passage. So as they're working on whatever that Pandora and Avatar experience is over at Disneyland, because they're working on a new experience over at the Disneyland Resort, you could envision a world where Flight of Passage gets an update. Flight of Passage being probably the most popular Disney attraction at Walt Disney World, right alongside Rise of the Resistance. And so you could imagine if they're updating this, that one, whatever they're doing is going to be pretty good. But two, that'll be a huge draw for people, getting to, you know, essentially experience the magic of Flight of Passage for a second time. So we don't have many details on that outside of like that is a thing that is coming at some point. But you know, talking about those park experiences that will help, shift the needle slightly in favor of the Walt Disney World Resort, new Flight of Passage media is one of those things. So we'll see what happens there and sort of how that goes. Who knows what'll end up coming from, James Cameron saying offhand in some interview about additional Flight of Passage content, or, a secondary, I guess you call it mission, or linking. But I'm excited to see, hopefully it materialize into something. Because at this point, Flight of Passage is 7 years old. So it's like prime for a light touch-up, if you will. A little pizzazz. Something new to cleanse the palate. So we'll see what happens. I dare anyone to come to Animal Kingdom and say, you know what? I hate Disney parks. You can't do it. You cannot do it. I mean, that is so cool. Always is so cool. And when it lights up at night, chef's kiss, even better. Now we just need them to open up at night. But what an experience this place is. Now just imagine if there was a brand new ride film in Flight of Passage. Oh my gosh. So excited. Oh, alrighty, friends. I'm heading out of Animal Kingdom. It's a scorcher out today. It's not even like warm. It's just the sun is very bright and it's very hot. I guess that would mean warm. Disregard. But yeah, so thanks for joining me as I sort of, armchair parks chairperson and park VP as we figured out sort of what little things could be done to Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom to make you want to visit this year and you want to visit next year. Thanks for watching and thank you for listening. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for Epcot. And most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.